First of all, if you're watching this recording, it means that due to very sad personal reasons, I cannot be with you today. Thank you for your understanding. And I'll do my ultimate best to get you all the value I intended to via this recorded presentation. That's a promise. If questions come up, please reach out to me afterwards via email or via LinkedIn. I will definitely respond. So, digital visibility. Why this topic? Why me? And why now? Because the rules of the game have flipped. Attention is cheap. Trust is expensive. Anyone can buy clicks, push content, or flood your feed. But clients, they don't want more noise. They're desperate for clarity, for competence, for signals they can actually rely on. That's where digital visibility either works for you or against you. Visibility without trust is just decoration. Visibility with trust is business. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I am Maria Boicova-Wynants, IP lawyer, IP strategy consultant, mediator, longtime SAP and IP Business Academy collaborator, MBA and MIPLM graduate. But most importantly for today, I'm someone who built a strong professional presence online, deliberately, not accidentally. LinkedIn was my lab, my test field, my proof of concept. So today, no hype, no performance theater. I'll show you what actually works when lawyers and IP experts want visibility that turns into trust. What survives contact with reality. And yes, what you can finally stop wasting your time on. Let's start with the premise. Digital visibility is the top layer. But the foundation, the part that actually carries weight, is your personal brand. Visibility always sits on identity. If your brand is fuzzy, visibility doesn't clarify it. It just turns up the volume on that fuzz. Noise, but louder. And here's the kicker, as they say. Louder noise doesn't win you clients. Most people chase views. Perfectly fine if your business model is advertising, but we don't sell ads. We sell expertise. For us, digital visibility is not the product, it's the symptom. The cause, the real driver is your brand. And here's something uncomfortable. If you don't decide for what you stand for, the internet will do it for you. And let me warn you, the internet is a very bad guesser. It will happily mislabel you in front of 5,000 strangers before breakfast. That's why the order matters. First, define who you are. Then, publish consistently who you are. And only then does visibility start compounding. Trying it the other way around is like buying a megaphone before you've decided what you want to say. Now, think of it this way. Your brand silently answers three questions before a client ever speaks to you. First one, are you competent? Second, are you consistent? Third, are you safe to work with? Get those right, and visibility works for you. Get them wrong, and visibility doesn't save you, it accelerates the collapse. Because online, you don't just scale your message, you also scale your mistakes. So, what is a personal brand, especially for lawyers? Forget the logos, color palettes, and that carefully retouched portrait where you almost don't recognize yourself. That's not a brand, that's decoration. A lawyer's brand is a reliable pattern of value delivery. In simple terms, reputation, promise, proof, repeated consistently in public. Reputation is what others say about you. Promise is what you claim about yourself. Proof is what you show over and over in public. Your brand is the loop between those three. And here's the catch. When clients scan your work, they're not looking for perfection. They're looking for alignment. Do your claims match the evidence you show? Do they match the endorsements others give you? When the loop holds, trust compounds. When it breaks, trust bleeds out fast. That's the system. Not flashy, not mystical, just the disciplined loop of reputation, promise, and proof. repeating until it becomes impossible to ignore. Where does a personal brand actually start? It starts here. Values, then voice, then behavior, and finally assets. In that order, always. Values drive your tone. Tone drives your choices. Choices create your assets. That's the chain. What you post, how you respond to comments, where you stay silent, where you draw the line. It all starts upstream with your values. Here's the problem. If your values aren't explicit, your content will default to generic. And generic content does exactly one thing. It vanishes. Let me give you an example. You're watching this on a recording. Why? Because one of my professional values is reliability. If I promise, I deliver. Even if I can't deliver exactly as planned, I'll find a way. That's not a motivational quote, that's just my basic operating rule. And it's precisely when circumstances push back that values show their teeth. So here's homework for you. Actually, do write your values down, not as poetry, as constraints. What you will do, always, in any case, in all circumstances, and what you will not do. Then let that shape your voice. Your voice should be nothing more than your values made audible. From that, your behavior follows. And from the behavior, as I already said, your assets. Reverse the ordering, you end up with the content that looks polished but feels empty. And audiences are very good at spotting empty. Before I personally hit publish, I run every post through 3 questions. 1. Does it matter? 2. Why would my audience care? And 3. How can I make it easier for them? That's my filter. Relevance, empathy, and reduction of friction. If a post fails any of this, it doesn't ship. Inspiration is optional, discipline is not. So let's unpack it. Why does it matter? So, what's the cost of ignorance here? If they don't know this, what could break? What risk do they walk straight into? Why would they care? What job does this content actually do for them? Today, not someday. Nobody's waiting around for thoughts in progress. And how can I make it easier? That's actually the practical side. Shorter, clearer, packaged. A model they can reuse, a checklist they can apply. Every time I strip out friction, engagement goes up, predictably. But more importantly, usefulness goes up. And that is the point. Because content that isn't useful, that's just another opinion on the internet, and the internet already has more opinions than cats. Abundance changes the game. Information nowadays is everywhere. It's thinking that is scarce. If all you give is information, you're replaceable. Clients aren't really starving for facts, they're drowning in them. What they buy is judgment. So show how you think. Show how you structure uncertainty. Show how you decide. If information is your only product, change profession. If in your content, you need to expose the logic. Don't just drop data. Contrast paths, map the trade-offs. Say it plainly, if you don't do X, then you don't get Y, or your risk is Z. If you do A, you gain B, but you delay the C. Explain it and say it plainly. That is how a client recognizes a mind they can trust under pressure. Make it concrete. When you publish, narrate the decision path, the constraints, the options, the trade-offs, the reason for the pick. That is judgment in public. That is what compounds trust. Because a list of facts without a decision is just homework, and nobody hires homework. Let me give you a chef analogy. Recipes are public, results are not. Chefs publish their cookbooks, and they even participate in all those cooking shows. And somehow their restaurants are still full. Why is that? Because process and craft beat secrecy. You can know all the ingredients and still fail spectacularly at reproducing the experience. Law works the same way. Statutes and cases, they're all public. Anyone can Google them, or should I say, perplexize them. The value isn't in hiding the rules. The value is in structuring, prioritizing, sequencing, and importantly, in timing. So show your method. Walk people through your mise en place, how you triage issues, how you frame the client's goal, the tests you run before you pick a path. When you do that, the right clients come to the right conclusion. Yes, I could try this myself, but when stakes are real, I want that mind at the table. Because knowing the recipe doesn't make you a chef. It just makes you someone standing in the kitchen with flour on your shirt. Let's talk about expertise versus values. Yes, values. Again, I know. Competence gets attention, but it's values that earn trust. There are plenty of competent lawyers. Buyers don't just want competence, they choose the expert whose principles feel safe, aligned for their appetite for risk, their pace of decision making, their culture. So your voice needs to signal both your expertise and the boundaries you won't cross. Be explicit. If confidentiality is sacred, show it in your stories. If you value clarity over comfort, show it in your edits. If reliability matters, let people see how you deliver, even when the conditions aren't ideal. If you care about being seen as a human, express yourself as human, for God's sake. Because clients hire you not only for what you know, but for who you are, especially when things get hard. Competence attracts, values secure. And here's the truth nobody likes to admit. In the end, yes, your degree gets you noticed, but your principles get you chosen. Without them, you're just another smart CV in a very, very tall stack. But isn't it about being the loudest, you might wonder? No, volume is not strategy. Clarity is. Precision beats frequency. Positioning beats decibels. You don't need to post 10 times a day. You just need to be unmistakable about who you help, what problems you solve, and how. Loud generalists always lose to clear specialists, always. So speak precisely. Say what you mean. Cut the hedges, cut the qualifiers, cut the polite fuzz that blurs your edge. In a world already drowning in noise, sharpness reads as confidence. And confidence is not arrogance. It's actually a service to your reader. Because let's be honest, nobody woke up this morning thinking, I really hope a lawyer posts 600 vague words today. Now, clarity doesn't mean dumbing everything down. Sometimes I personally write for peers, and yes, those posts are more complex. They're written in a different key. Why? Because the audience is different. The goal there isn't reach, it's depth. It's credibility in the eyes of people who know the subject well enough to tell insight from cliché. And here's what happens. Peers notice. They follow, they engage, they remember. That builds authority inside the profession itself. Most of the time, though, I don't clutter my main feed with dense technicalities. I save that depth for where it belongs, often in the comments and often under someone else's post. That's where nuance lives. That's where debates sharpen. And that's where you can show depth without actually overwhelming the main stage. So, yes, clarity is still the rule. But clarity doesn't mean simplicity at all costs. Sometimes credibility requires showing depth, just not confusing depth with noise. We are on slide 10. We're halfway through. And here I want to stress once again, make your thinking visible. Case breakdowns, decision trees, before and after risk maps, 5-step playbooks, or whatever. The goal is simple. Teach your lens, not just your conclusions. I default to artifacts that expose reasoning, short case notes that show why this mattered and not that, to explain the rationale, to give them the if X then Y, something like that, the decision trees. Quick frameworks that compress messy field into stages, before and after, that makes progress visible. I also frequently address specific questions to ask or specific questions to think about. Because here's the thing, people remember models more than mottos, always. Models travel inside organizations. A clear framework can show up in a boardroom 6 months later, guiding a decision, long after your catchy slogan is forgotten. So build reusable shapes for thinking. Package your reasoning so others can carry it. And then give it away. Yes, give it away, you heard me. Don't be afraid to give. It will come back to you. Because the professional who creates the mental map is remembered long after the one who just posted something for posting's sake. Let's take a moment to talk about AI. Use it, but use it with taste. AI is not autopilot. Edit, train, loop. Daily AI use leaves tells. It's just obvious. If you only ship raw generations, people can smell it. And generation for the sake of generation, that's not visibility. That's noise. I'll tell you my secret. I use AI a lot. I edit every output rigorously. And then I feed the edited version back in. So the system learns my decisions. And you know what? It actually does. So briefs, edits, refeeds. That loop saves me hours, but without sacrificing my voice, which is important. But of course, there's a trap. If you can't name your own style rules, AI will invent them for you. And trust me, you will not like the result. So articulate your constraints clearly. Sentence lengths, banned phrases, preferred metaphors, the level of specificity you want. Then apply them relentlessly. Because tools extend your taste, they cannot really replace it. Otherwise, you're not using AI, you're just letting a parrot run your LinkedIn. So, style. Define your style. Message, angle, cadence, lines. Short and human, concrete, and actionable. Make it explicit. Create a one-page style card if you think that might help. Write down the hooks you use, the analogies you trust, the structures you favor, the style examples you admire, the CTA types you rotate, the lines you refuse to cross. Why? Why would you bother? Well, because consistency compels recall. In practice, style is your operating system. It reduces decision fatigue. It also creates recognizability. Your goal is simple. People should be able to read 3 sentences and know it's you. Not because there's a photo of you. Just the words. The words must say it's you. But that only happens if you decide in advance how you write when you're tired, busy, or uninspired. Because here's the truth. Anyone can write well on a good day. Style is how you still sound like you when you don't feel like writing at all. Without it, you're just another LinkedIn account posting something in illegal drag. Besides, if you ever decide to outsource and want a good result, you'd better have very precise instructions. So take a moment and really think good about that. Now, channels. In a nutshell, be where they are. They meaning your clients, your target audience. Be where they are. Don't worship platforms. Follow the buyer. Yes, LinkedIn is excellent for professionals. That's where I personally publish most. But don't make the platform your god. Follow your clients. If they read industry newsletters, be there. If they attend niche webinars, be there. If they gather industry association forums, yes, even there, be there. Now, on a practical note, ROI invisibility is slippery because of the silent observer effect. Many read, few engage. Some convert, but that could happen months later by email or DM. That's normal, just expect it. The 99-1 rule shows up everywhere. 90% just lurk, 9% engage a little, and 1% actually post or engage actively. Communities repeat this pattern endlessly. So don't obsess over impressions or likes or stuff like that. Treat them as background noise. Focus instead on leading indicators, saves, thoughtful comments, invitations to speak or connect. Those are the signals that actually matter. Because honestly, counting likes is like a digital version of weighing yourself 3 times a day. Feels like data, but it's actually not a strategy and it doesn't give you much. Now, this is important, very important. Give first, always. Play the long game. Support your supporters. Think of it as a reciprocity at scale. Comment back. Share others' work. Publish resources. Invite questions. Treat every post as a service, not as a pitch. This isn't sainthood, it's just strategy. Because when you consistently make others look good, trust compounds. First slowly, then suddenly. Like the classic law of compounding. Same thing. Let me give you another example. At one point, I had a follower who was, let's say, skeptical. He'd leave comments that were provocative, even a little bit combative. But I didn't shut him down. I engaged, I responded, I took his questions seriously. Over time, something shifted. Today, he is one of my strongest supporters, not just on LinkedIn, but also for my books and for my work in general. That's what playing the long game looks like. Convert one person at a time. I keep a simple rule. After every post, I support at least 2 other people's work in the same window. It keeps me from turning inward, and it keeps also the relationships alive. But the thing to remember, and to remember very, very good, you cannot fake the long game. People see who consistently shows up for others and who only shows up for themselves. And the latter, they always look like the LinkedIn version of the guy at the party who won't stop pitching his app or something. Nobody misses when he leaves. Speaking about focusing on one person, always speak to that one person. Specific beats generic. There's an old line, what fits everything fits nothing. So don't write to a demographic, write to an individual. Picture one client, one scenario, one decision, one trade-off. Suddenly, the copy tightens, the advice sharpens. That's the magic. The right people feel seen. The wrong people self-select themselves out. Like Alex sometimes says, that's not a bug, that's a feature. Specificity is courage. It says you're willing to be irrelevant to most in order to be essential to some. That's how authority is built. I'll give you an example. Once I wrote a post about something very niche, like how to structure IP ownership and joint R&D projects. Most people scrolled right past it. But the ones who did engage, CTOs, startup founders, and an in-house counsel who was facing exactly that issue. It's not that I got their likes or something, that's too much to ask, but they did read it. And they messaged, and some of them became clients. Yes, I lost the crowd, but I gained the right audience. And that's the point. Broad advice makes you sound safe, but it's the specific advice that makes you sound useful. So, how do I actually do this in practice? Well, I keep a rhythm I call 4+1. So I have the four focused posts every week on a specific topic. One on Friday is a summary post. I have weekly themes. This week, for example, it was AI training and copyright. That rhythm builds reliability, and reliability builds trust. But it also structures my own thinking, so there's a double value there. I usually pick one angle for the week, publish four tight pieces around it, and then on Friday, I tie it all together. Sometimes what I would also do is that I would take the material and transform it into a more in-depth article afterwards. Now, this part is crucial. Sustainability matters more than intensity. Your cadence should be a promise you can keep for at least a year, not a sprint you can force for a week. So if you go all in for, let's say, 10 days and then you vanish, you don't look prolific. You look unreliable. And that's not what you want. The goal isn't to fill feeds. The goal is to deliver dependable clarity that matches your audience's decision cycle. So when they're weighing risks, making growth calls, or choosing partners, your voice is already in the room because cadence is credibility. And if they can count on your rhythm, they can count on you. Yet another subtle nudge. Now let's talk about metrics. What actually matters? For me, it's three buckets: inputs, signals, and outcomes. Inputs are the things you can control: your cadence, your clarity, the conversations you start. Signals are the signs you're cutting through. So the saves, the DMs, the invitations. And outcomes, those are the real results: briefs, referrals, speaking gigs. That's the hierarchy. Inputs first, signals second, outcomes third. So optimize for conversations and invitations, not just impressions. Vanity metrics are enticing, but they mislead. Here's what I actually track. I track who saved my posts, who asks real substantive questions, not just some sort of AI generated B shit reciting my post. What kind of invitations arrive in my inbox? And I even keep a little log of anecdotes because attribution is messy. I can't tell you the exact ROI of any single post, and that's fine. That's actually not the point. We're not chasing viral lottery ticket here, are we? We're building a system. And in systems, lag is normal. Attention first, action later, and that's how it works. So track what matters. Because let's be honest, likes don't pay invoices. Another important slide: the red flags to avoid. On the slide, you see the nice lineup of red flags against a beautiful blue sky. And isn't that just LinkedIn in a nutshell? A horizon full of optimism, constantly interrupted by posts that should never have been published. Here are the big ones: generic posts, AI centered prose, inconsistent voice, platform chasing, no call to action. Red flags. But you can think of these also as quality filters. They protect your brand. If your post could be written by anyone, don't publish it. If it reads like a model wrote it, rewrite it, goddammit, until it sounds like you again. And always, always provide useful next step. A question to think through, a checklist, a link to a deeper resource, anything. Give value. That's what your focus should be, on giving value. Ambiguity is not a strategy. People should know exactly what to do with your content the moment they finish reading it. Otherwise, all you've done is yet another red flag to the sky. So let me leave you with the closing principle. Three choices, simple but not easy. Clarity over volume, service over performance, process over secrets. That's actually the whole system right there. Choose clarity, not volume, because noise doesn't scale trust. It just makes your fuzz louder. Sharpness cuts through. Choose service, not performance, because nobody needs another professional playing influencer on stage. What earns trust is usefulness, consistent, dependable usefulness. And choose process, not secrets, because clients don't hire you for mystery. They hire you for judgment, for the way you frame problems, structure uncertainty, and decide under pressure. If your personal brand mirrors those choices, digital visibility stops being a struggle. It becomes the byproduct of doing the right work in public, long enough for people to notice. Attention may be cheap. Trust is expensive. I said that already. And this is how you buy it. Because in the end, digital visibility is not a performance. It's not a lottery ticket. It's not luck. It's simply the compounding effect of clarity, service, and process, done in public over time. Do that, and visibility doesn't just happen, it sticks. And when it sticks, so do you. Before we wrap for today, let me leave you with something practical you can take further. Some of you might already know my first book, Marketing for Lawyers Who Hate Marketing. If you don't, ask Alex. He read it and reviewed it for the IP Business Academy. It's a straight, no nonsense guide that teaches you just enough marketing to shine without ever feeling like you're faking it. But that book was just the beginning. Because as we've seen today, personal brand is something deeper than tactics and posts. At the core is integrity. And that's what my upcoming book is all about. Integrity by design. This is not another 5 steps or 5 tips to go viral, but it is a blueprint, a system for aligning what you say, what you do, and how you show up when nobody's clapping. The thing is, most professionals don't have a branding problem. They have a consistency problem. They overperform in bursts and then vanish. They preach values and then compromise them when it's convenient. And in the world drowning in noise, inconsistency equals invisibility. So the integrity by design is my refusal to play that game of appearances. The book won't make you look extraordinary. It will make you unshakably real. And real is what people follow. Because another thing, you already have a personal brand. Think about it. You have it anyway. The only question is, does it still stand when no one is watching? It's coming out at the end of October, maybe early November. So stay tuned. It will certainly be announced on LinkedIn. So here's where we close. If you'd like to stay connected, just scan the QR code you see on the screen. It will get you directly to my LinkedIn. And under my LinkedIn profile, there is a link for everything else. So my books, my YouTube, my website, and a set of practical resources to get you started. And please, if something I said today sparked an idea or a question, don't wait until it fades. Send it to me while it's fresh. I always reply. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you to Weickmann and Weickmann for hosting this conversation.